Before we start, like the video and don't forget to subscribe to the channel too, so we can hit 20,000 subscribes soon. Let's begin. The series starts with our heroine, Misa, who we see as a child crying. Then a girl comes up to her jokingly and puts a bracelet on her wrist. We learn that this girl's name is Rina, and she calls the bracelet a friendship bracelet. From that moment on, Misa and Rina become best friends since childhood. They were practically together in everything, even at work. They both end up working at the same confectionery company. At the company, Misa meets a new employee named Tomoya, and the two of them fall in love. They have an incredible love story that ends in marriage. But the life Misa thought was beautiful turned out to be nothing like she imagined. She later gets diagnosed with stomach cancer and is admitted to the hospital. She spends a very long time alone without Tomoya even visiting her once. One day, Rina comes to visit her, just like she always does. She asks her if Tomoya hasn't visited her either. Misa tells her that she hasn't heard anything from him since she was first admitted to the hospital. Rina then tells her that he's opened his own company and is super busy. Maybe that's why he hasn't been able to come. Misa says she understands and forgives him, and she's really happy that Rina keeps coming to see her. We also learn that Misa is all alone, and the only family she has is her grandmother, who has dementia and doesn't even remember her. We find out that Misa's mother died from stomach cancer as well, which is why Misa is so afraid. She doesn't want to die like her mom and suffer like she saw her do in her final days. One day, Misa gets permission to leave the hospital for just one day. She wants to spend that day visiting Tomoya. She wants to cook for him and check up on him, but she can't find a taxi and gets extremely exhausted from standing, then collapses in pain. She takes a painkiller to get through the rest of the day. Suddenly, a taxi pulls up, and the driver opens the door for her and lets her in. He even seems to know where she's going without her saying anything. But the strange thing is that Misa can't really see the driver's face. No matter how much she tries to focus, she can't make out his facial features. The driver tells her she doesn't need to tell him her destination. He knows the best route to take. He asks her to look out the window, and as she does, the weather suddenly changes to winter and it starts snowing. Then it instantly turns to autumn, then spring. She's completely confused about what's going on, but she feels strangely at peace. The taxi driver tells her not to worry because she's going to meet someone who will fix everything. Soon, they stop in front of the building where Misa and Tomoya's apartment is. Misa has fallen asleep, so the driver wakes her up. When she tries to pay him, he tells her she's his last passenger ever, and today is his last day as a taxi driver, so she doesn't need to pay him. He asks her to open her hands and gives her lots of sweets. When Misa goes up to the apartment, she hears water running inside, but also hears a woman's voice. She moves closer and hears the woman saying to Tomoya that there's only a little time left and they'll get the money and finally be free. Misa is shocked when she enters the room and sees Tomoya cheating on her with Rina, her only friend. What crushes Misa even more is when Rina tells her that she and Tomoya grew closer after Misa got sick and was admitted to the hospital. They were afraid she was going to die, and that's what brought them together? What the hell? The nerve of that woman. Misa starts crying and tells them they couldn't even wait another month because the doctors had told her she had just 1 month left to live. When she asks about the money they were talking about, Tomoya gets furious and tells her it's the life insurance money. He's just waiting for her to die so he can cash it. He then tells her how forced he was to live with her, that she wasn't a good or attractive wife, she made his life difficult, she was stingy, and that her death would be a relief for both of them. Misa looks at Rina and says she can't believe she would do this to her. Rina turns cold and says Misa is ungrateful. She says she stayed by her side when everyone else hated her, when she had no friends, even though she was boring and had nothing special that would make anyone want to stay close to her, and that Tomoya didn't deserve someone like her, which is why he cheated on her. Misa tells them she's going to inform the insurance company about what happened and make sure the money goes to her grandmother instead of her husband. The moment she leaves the apartment, Tomoya runs after her, hits her, and knocks her bag out of her hand. Papers fall out, and we find out they're thank you letters Misa had written to Tomoya and Rina because she had planned to say goodbye to them before she died. In the letters, she wrote about how Tomoya was a good husband and how much she loved him, and how Rina was a loyal friend. But she never imagined the good husband wanted to strangle and kill her to steal her money, and the loyal friend would say goodbye with a sinister laugh and even push her off the building, and she dies. Suddenly, Rina throws herself on the floor screaming, pretending Misa jumped off by herself. But the strange thing is, just as Misa closes her eyes and gives in to death, she wakes up and finds herself back in the company she worked at, standing in front of her old department head assistant, Somo, a woman who had quit a long time ago. Misa doesn't understand how she's there or what's going on. It's the end of the workday, and as she heads toward the elevator, she sees Tomoya again, but he looks different with his old hairstyle. He runs up to her to grab her hand, but she panics and runs away. As she runs, she bumps into Rina, who smiles at her and talks to her like nothing happened. Misa runs off, completely confused. The last thing she remembers is falling from the building and dying. But at that moment, she sees an advertisement on a big screen in the street. It's about the Olympics. 2015, and when she focuses on the date, she's shocked. That means she's gone back in time a full 10 years. And sure enough, when she looks in the mirror, she finds herself young again, 10 years younger. She's not sick with cancer yet and is able to run and jump around, and she's also extremely hungry with a wide-open appetite, the exact opposite of how she'd been. Of course, the illness had kept her from eating the things she loved. That's why she goes into the nearest restaurant and orders almost everything on the menu. But then she gets a call from Somo, who tells her they've been waiting for her for a long time. Misa remembers that at this point in time, she had a presentation at the company for a new product, and she was the one presenting it. It was her very first presentation at the company. Misa recalls how badly it went. She actually arrived late, so she rushes to catch a taxi because she doesn't want to repeat what happened before. It's her second chance after all. But when she gets to the company, she remembers she's in trouble because 10 years ago, Rina gave her the wrong address on purpose to make her late. Back then, Misa didn't know what kind of person Rina really was. Anyway, Misa runs to the correct company building where the presentation is happening. As she gets in the elevator, she accidentally falls into the arms of a man and feels really embarrassed. The man tells her she looks very late. She tells him that she works for a sweets company and that she's going to give a presentation for a new product, and her name is Misa. He says he's seen her around a lot but never knew her name. He introduces himself. His name is Suzuki, and he's the head of the planning department at the sweets company she works for. It's Misa's first time ever seeing Suzuki. Anyway, she rushes into the hall to give the presentation, but she fails again for the second time. She goes back to the company feeling embarrassed, and Rina comes over to apologize for what happened. Misa remembers how naive she used to be, thinking Rina had just made a mistake with the address. Misa tells her it's nothing, just a normal situation, and walks away. And now that she's back in the past, she feels like she needs to revisit her memories. So she goes to a small dessert shop she used to visit with her dad before he died. It's her secret place, the one she always went to when she was sad. While thinking about memories with her dad, something clicks, and she realizes who the taxi driver was, the one who drove her when she couldn't see his face. The driver was her dad. He used to be a taxi driver too, and he had a habit of giving her sweets in the exact same way that mysterious taxi driver did. She doesn't really understand what's going on, but all she knows is that her father saved her from death, and this second chance she's been given must mean something. Misa returns home, very emotional, and decides she's going to make the most of this second chance to improve her life. But then she gets a message from Rina, reminding her of their upcoming date. We find out this is going to be Misa and Tomoya's first official date, and Rina is tagging along so she can meet Tomoya's friend. Maybe something will happen between them. Misa decides to get ready and go on the date to see how things unfold. And sure enough, the same things that happened 10 years ago start happening again, but this time, Misa has to pretend to love Rina and Tomoya. Yet Misa starts to wonder how she had never noticed how Rina always mocked her, humiliated her in front of others, and loved showing herself as the better one. Misa had always just stayed quiet. But now, Misa can't keep going with this nonsense. Tomoya is supposed to propose to her during this date, so she runs off and leaves. The next day at the company, Misa brings a notebook and starts writing down the major events in her life that she must now change, because she's decided, finally, to take revenge on Tomoya and Rina. Her mind is so occupied that she finds herself standing in front of a boiling kettle, unaware of the danger. Right before it explodes, Suzuki shows up, hits the kettle away, and saves her. But his hand gets burned by the boiling water. Misa grabs his hand and runs to the sink to help him, apologizing that he got hurt because of her. He tells her to pay more attention next time, because if he hadn't seen her, something terrible could have happened. Misa is confused. How did Suzuki interfere and change something in the timeline? Everything should be going the same as before, so the kettle should have exploded and burned her hand. But she doesn't dwell on it for long because she's too focused on what just happened to Suzuki. On that same day, Misa is supposed to meet Tomoya at a fancy restaurant. They're planning to make their engagement official. She remembers how in the past she had been completely blinded, seeing Tomoya as her dream man, thinking every small gesture from him was a big deal, and being totally satisfied with the bare minimum. But this time, Misa goes to meet him pretending she still loves him, repeating all her past behaviors, but this time, it's to execute her revenge. Meanwhile, we learn more about Suzuki. He was actually Misa's classmate back in university. He knew her for many years and had always watched her from afar. He knew how sweet and kind she was, but he was an introvert, so Misa never noticed him. Suzuki couldn't believe it when he saw Misa again at the company as an employee. He had been watching her from a distance again, but she had always been focused on Tomoya. The next day, Misa runs into Suzuki outside the company and greets him, but he doesn't respond. He just turns and walks away. That's his usual behavior. Rina sees them and suddenly gets annoyed. She walks over to Misa and asks how she knows someone as high-ranking as the head of the planning department. How come she can casually greet him? Misa explains that he just helped her avoid burning her hand earlier, and she just wanted to thank him. Rina says Suzuki would never look at someone like Misa. After all, he's the grandson of the chairman and the son of the CEO, the legitimate heir of the company. But their conversation is cut short by their coworker Miku, who tells them there's a lot of work to finish and it's not the time for useless talk. That same day, Misa is in the restroom when she hears a girl asking for help. She's stuck inside and can't get out. Misa is embarrassed but helps her anyway. We find out this girl is Miku. She's very sweet and keeps thanking Misa, telling her she had asked others for help, but they just ignored her. Misa was the only one who helped. She promises Misa that from now on, they're friends and she'll return the favor someday. After finishing work, Misa heads to her favorite dessert shop. There, she finds Suzuki sitting, eating sweets and drinking tea. He comes over and greets her, and she tells him she's always been used to coming to this place. The woman working at the shop sees them talking and assumes they're friends. She moves Suzuki's order to Misa's table and tells them they're clearly close, then walks away. Suzuki politely asks Misa if he can sit with her. Of course, she agrees. They sit and start talking, and they discover how similar they are in how they work. They both love sitting alone, trying different kinds of desserts, analyzing their texture, flavor, and consistency to help them come up with new products for the company. At that moment, Suzuki tells Misa that a dessert shop is releasing new limited edition items, but only for one day, and he invites her to come try them. Misa tells him she's unfortunately busy. We find out that on that day, Rina had taken Misa with her because she wanted to buy a dress, without telling her what the occasion was. Then one day, Rina calls Misa and asks her to accompany her somewhere, again not telling her where they're going. Misa is shocked when she sees Rina wearing the dress they bought together and realizes that Rina has brought her to their high school reunion. Rina deliberately didn't tell Misa about the event so that Misa wouldn't be prepared, and so she'd show up looking plain and less attractive than everyone else there. When she returns home, furious, she throws away all her photos with Rina and also all the clothes that Rina helped her buy, realizing that Rina always made her pick the worst outfits while pretending they looked great. After that, Misa decides to go with Suzuki to try the desserts, but she doesn't tell him that she's coming. She goes to the restaurant and reserves a table. When Suzuki arrives, he finds her waiting and she asks him to sit with her, telling him that she canceled everything else just so they could try the desserts together. When they get the menu, Suzuki suggests that they order every item and split each one so they can try them all. Misa likes the idea and they do just that, trying all the desserts and enjoying them. After finishing, Suzuki asks Misa what she'll do next, and she tells him she's going shopping because she threw out all her old clothes. They're no longer her style. Suzuki offers to go with her. While shopping, since Misa is trying to save money, she usually buys second-hand clothes. But as they walk around, Suzuki notices that a particular dress catches Misa's eye. It's very beautiful, but also expensive, so she doesn't buy it. Later, when it's time for them to part ways, Suzuki gives Misa a bracelet as a gift. She thanks him and tells him that she's waiting for a friend. Her friend turns out to be Miko, who greets Suzuki and then asks him if he's Misa's boyfriend. He says no, they're just friends, and then leaves. But before leaving, he tells Misa that the dress she liked would really suit her and that she should consider buying it. Misa then goes with Miko to the store with the dress, remembering what Suzuki and Tomoya had told her before, how Tomoya once called her stingy, unattractive, and said she made life harder for herself. She walks in and buys the dress, feeling satisfied. After that, she goes with Miko to change her hairstyle into something new and bold, all in preparation for the reunion. On the day of the reunion, Misa gets ready and heads to the venue without telling Rina. When Rina sees her there, she's shocked by Misa's transformation. Their former classmates ask Misa why she came and begin to prepare to mock her again. But Misa speaks up, asking them why they treated her so badly back in high school, what she had done to deserve the bullying, and how they made her life a living hell. They respond by saying that she had done a lot and start accusing her of treating Rina badly because Yuto, the guy Misa used to like, was into her. In reality, Yuto liked Misa too, but Rina, not wanting to see Misa happy or better than her, got close to Yuto and spread rumors that Misa was mistreating her because of him. That's what led the girls to bully Misa. Misa then turns to Rina and asks if she really said all that. Rina becomes nervous, starts crying, and says it's not the right time to bring up old issues. They should all just enjoy the reunion. Misa breaks down crying and tells Rina that she no longer wants to be her friend, then leaves the venue. It starts raining, and Misa walks without an umbrella until suddenly, Suzuki shows up running toward her with an umbrella. He tells her she'll catch a cold like that and escorts her home. The next day, Rina decides she won't let what Misa did slide. When she starts to sense something going on between Misa and Suzuki, she sets her sights on stealing him. She waits for Suzuki outside the company, purposely drops things in front of him, and pretends she hurt her leg to fall into his arms. But our guy Suzuki, the absolute legend, doesn't say a single word to her and just walks away. Later, when Misa returns to work, she receives a call from Yuto, the guy she used to like who caused her so many problems. He invites her to his restaurant as a form of apology. She accepts and meets him during her lunch break. She learns that Yuto has become a successful chef and owns a thriving restaurant. He apologizes again for what happened and says he should have defended her, as she was never mean to him. Misa says the past is the past, and she's moved on. But suddenly, Rina shows up. She had followed Misa after overhearing her call and asks to join them. She apologizes to both of them and says she crossed the line back then, claiming she only acted that way because she was scared Misa would stop being her friend if she started dating Yuto. Of course, Misa knows she's lying, but she pretends to forgive her. However, when they return to the office, Misa starts noticing that Rina has a new target, Suzuki. Rina deliberately tries to get close to him in front of Misa. Meanwhile, Misa faces another challenge, helping Sumo, the assistant of the department head. Their department head is corrupt and constantly pressures Sumo, blaming her for mistakes until he forces her to resign. Unfortunately, her life spirals after she leaves. Misa steps in and helps her, telling her how the department head is setting her up and pointing out exactly which issues he'll use against her so she can avoid them. Thanks to Misa's help, Sumo manages to dodge a lot of trouble, and together they start to fight back. The two become very close friends, and Somo is a friend of Misa and Miko, the third one. One day, Misa is at the company and sees Suzuki walking quickly in a suspicious way, so she follows him. She sees him going to meet Miko, and they both try to avoid being seen. It becomes clear that they are in a secret relationship, especially when Miko hugs him. Misa gets very upset because Miko is her friend and didn't tell her, and also because Suzuki was very nice to her, so she feels he's just playing around. From that day on, Misa stops working with Suzuki and avoids him unless absolutely necessary. She also feels forced to stay close to Tomoya to get revenge on him too, even though she can't stand him. One day, while Misa is out with Tomoya, he suddenly tells her he's coming to sleep over at her apartment. When Misa tells him she's busy and it won't work, he gets angry and says he'll pretend he didn't hear that, then heads to her place anyway. But Misa pulls her hand from his and tells him to stop being selfish. She already said she's busy, and she leaves him. A few days later, the company organizes a trip for everyone, and Misa is forced to travel in the same car with Tomoya and Rina. During the trip, Rina keeps trying to flirt with Suzuki, and Tomoya gets jealous because he heard that Suzuki is getting close to Misa. Still, Suzuki feels uneasy that Misa is ignoring him. When they are alone, he goes to her and asks why she's avoiding him. She gets very angry and tells him she's in a relationship with Tomoya and they're getting married soon, and she's not planning to give him a chance to play with her emotions. She tells him she saw him with Miko and that his actions don't match someone in a relationship. Suzuki laughs a lot and tells her that Miko is actually his little sister. He's been hiding that from everyone so no one would approach her and try to use connections through her. Misa apologizes deeply and says she's extremely embarrassed. He tells her he doesn't care about that. He just doesn't want her to keep seeing him as a bad guy. Then they go sit together and eat grapes and laugh about everything that just happened. But Rina sees them and gets jealous and frustrated that all her efforts are failing. On the way back from the trip, she asks Suzuki to ride with her because she has something important to talk about. Suzuki lets her in, but Rina has nothing to say. She just wants everyone at work to think she's close to him and upset Misa. Suzuki knows what she's doing and tells her that people who hurt others without feeling remorse will have it all come back to them in the end. He adds that she's a horrible person and that no one would ever want her as a lover because, frankly, she's unbearable. Rina tells him to stop the car and gets out, then joins Tomoya's car. But Rina still doesn't want to leave without hurting Misa somehow, so she goes up to Suzuki, leans toward his head, and insults him. But because it's dark, everyone thinks she kissed him. Later, she rides with Tomoya again, and they remain silent the entire ride. That night, Rina asks Misa to sleep over because she wants to talk. Misa agrees. When they get home and change clothes, Rina notices that the photos of her with Misa are gone. Misa says she's just rearranging the decor. Then Misa asks what Rina wanted to talk about. Rina says she once saw her walking in the rain under Suzuki's umbrella and felt like something was going on between them. She says she can't stay quiet anymore and lies, saying that Suzuki harassed her and what happened between them today was just a trick to trap him. She tries to scare Misa. Misa pretends to be scared and says Rina is her best friend and that Suzuki really could have done something bad to her too. From that day on, Misa completely ignores Suzuki at work, making him feel like he really did something wrong. One day, he tries to talk to her and runs after her. Misa pulls him into hiding because Rina is watching, and if she saw them together, Misa's plan wouldn't work. Her plan to make Rina think she stayed away from Suzuki. Misa sits down with him and says she doesn't want Rina to see them together. Suzuki tells her he'll do whatever she wants, but before he leaves, he needs to defend himself. He tells her he never touched Rina. She was the one who got too close and insulted him. He tells her that when she got in the car with him, he told her off and rejected her advances. The next day, Misa calls Rina and arranges to meet. When they meet, Tomoya joins them. Misa brought them together to hang out before the wedding. Throughout the outing, Misa acts like she deeply loves Tomoya, caring for him like he's her child. At the end, they go to a quiet place, and Misa starts talking to Tomoya about his finances and his investments. He tells her he's investing in cryptocurrency and has made 10 million yen from it. Misa pretends to be impressed by this wealth, of course to lure Rina with the money. And just as she hoped, when Misa leaves to go to the bathroom, she comes back to find Rina playing with Tomoya's hair, proof that her plan worked and that Rina is now trying to steal him again. One day, Rina asks to meet Tomoya alone without Misa and tells him she's worried about her friend, but he needs to know something to help her. She tells him she heard rumors about Misa being involved with the planning department head, Suzuki. She says she's afraid for her because Misa's mother once abandoned her and her father to run off with another man, something Misa told no one except Rina. Rina keeps provoking him, saying it's only natural Misa would fall for someone like Suzuki, rich, handsome, powerful. Jealousy eats him up. He drinks heavily, then goes to Misa, who just finished work, and offers to drive her home. But he can't wait, and midway through the trip, he asks her about her relationship with Suzuki. Misa doesn't answer and wants to leave, but he grabs her hand forcefully to make her talk. When Misa gets scared, Tomoya tells her she shouldn't be afraid. It's just how her family is. Just like her mom ran away with another man, she'll run away with Suzuki too. Misa is shocked because she never expected Rina to tell him that. When she walks away upset, Tomoya follows her and slaps her. Misa goes home crying, and when she gets there, she feels intense pain in her stomach. It's the beginning signs of the cancer she's about to have. The next day at work, Rina acts normal with Misa as if nothing happened. After work, Tomoya asks to speak to Misa and apologizes, saying he was drunk and couldn't control himself. He gives her a contract for a very expensive and nice apartment, saying it will be their home after marriage. But Misa tells him she hasn't forgiven him, not for what he said or for slapping her. Tomoya responds by saying he can't believe her nerve. She's the one who was wrong and cheating, and now that he decided to forgive her, she turns it on him. Misa laughs and says she wants to break up and that she's not forced to be with someone like him anyway, then she leaves. Meanwhile, Suzuki finishes work and runs into his sister, Miko, who tells him she was supposed to go out with Misa, but Misa told her she broke up with her fiancé and is now canceling the apartment booking where they were supposed to live after the wedding. Suddenly, Suzuki panics and rushes to Misa's apartment because, at that moment, Misa is standing in front of the apartment at the exact spot where she died before. Due to the overlap of memories, Misa feels like everything is repeating again. She was actually about to fall from the building and die, but this time Suzuki catches her and hugs her while she's crying. He tells her that he won't let her die again. We learn that Suzuki wasn't just Misa's classmate at university. The situation is much deeper. He had been watching over her and caring about her, and he even knew her father because there was a time her father came to the university looking for her and couldn't find her, and it was Suzuki who helped him. We find out that Suzuki was deeply affected by Misa's death in her previous life. Anyway, both Misa and Suzuki need a shower to calm down from everything that happened. They go into the apartment Misa was about to cancel, and she goes in to take a shower. Suzuki follows after, but Misa is confused and asks him how he always happens to be there whenever she needs help. Suzuki tells her he's not stalking her, but that he's known her for a long time. He tells her they were classmates in university, but she never paid attention to him, and when he saw her again at the company, he couldn't believe it because he pretty much has no friends, and she's the only one he knew from back in the day. Misa is shocked and doesn't know what to say. Meanwhile, Tomoya is drinking and calls Rina, telling her Misa broke up with him and he keeps crying. That becomes Rina's opportunity, so she tries to comfort him and tells him she's there for him. Then there's an event at the company to distribute candy boxes to important people in the investment field. It's basically a promotional campaign. But Misa remembers well that this event was the reason Miko was shamefully fired from the company because the corrupt department head messed up and blamed it on her. He gave a box of candy containing peanuts to an investor, even though he knew the investor was allergic. Misa decides not to let history repeat itself and goes to get rid of those types of candies. But she finds Suzuki already removed them and put them in storage. She doesn't understand how he knew. But that doesn't solve everything, because the department head stupidly finds those candies in storage and decides to bring them out himself. On his way, he bumps into that same investor and hands him the candy. When the investor tells him he's allergic to peanuts, the department head says he'll get him a sheet with the ingredients list, and he calls Rina to bring it. Rina just grabs any paper she finds and gives it to the investor to be done with it. After the event, Rina takes advantage of the situation and goes to Tomoya, crying to him and saying she's lonely, and throws in some emotional manipulation. Tomoya, being weak, falls for it. She convinces him that if they cheat on Misa just once, it doesn't count as betrayal, and he, like a fool, believes her and does everything she wants. Misa is actually standing and watching all this. And even though she's happy the plan worked, she still cries because she's being betrayed for the second time. But Suzuki steps in and tells her to look away so she doesn't get more upset. The next day at work, Rina goes to greet Misa shamelessly. When Tomoya enters, she asks him how he slept and if he slept well. Misa just walks away from that whole disgusting scene. But the peanut issue still happens again. This time, the department head isn't the only one at fault, because Rina also made a mistake and gave the investor a random paper without checking. They find out the investor is in the hospital in critical condition, and the culprit has to come forward and take responsibility. The department head doesn't confess, nor does he blame Rina, because he's obsessed with her and would do anything to protect her. So he tries to blame Miko again since it was her job to distribute the ingredient papers. When Misa decides to step in and expose the department head, Suzuki stops her and says he'll investigate it himself. It's clear he has a plan. Meanwhile, betrayal has become normal for Tomoya. He even tells Rina that even if he marries Misa, Rina will always be his lover and their relationship will continue. Suzuki goes with the department head and Miko to the investor and his wife to reveal the real culprit. We find out Suzuki had already prepared proof through his sister. He had recorded the entire event with his own camera. The video shows Rina taking the paper and giving it to the investor, proving his sister's innocence. The department head apologizes to her, saying he wasn't paying attention and thought she was the one at fault. But for some reason, Suzuki remembers what happened in Misa's previous life and recalls that he didn't believe his sister and actually fired her from the company himself. So now he's trying to make up for his mistake. The next day at the company, Misa wants to expose Tomoya, so she starts crying in the middle of the office, saying she found out he's cheating on her with her closest friend, Rina. She sits on the floor crying, and the news spreads like wildfire, destroying both Rina and Tomoya's reputations. And not just that, Suzuki also investigates what happened with the investor himself and makes the department head confess both his and Rina's roles. Because of what Rina did and the cheating scandal, Suzuki fires her from the company and makes her pack up and leave. On her way out of the company, Rina tries to apologize to Misa, saying they're friends and she can't afford to lose her. But Misa tells her that Tomoya already apologized and said his relationship with Rina was meaningless and just a mistake, so she's decided to forgive him. She also tells Rina that she forgives her too because she lost her job, has no friends, and is just a pitiful case now. Then she leaves her stewing and walks away. But Rina can't accept what happened to her, so she publicly apologizes to Misa in front of everyone at the company and announces that unfortunately she's pregnant with Tomoya's child. Misa starts crying in front of everyone. Everyone seemed happy, but in truth, Misa was incredibly happy about the news, and we realize she got over everything that happened pretty quickly. We also see her celebrating with Somo because she got promoted and became the head of the department since the old department head got transferred to the warehouse, and it's just a matter of time before he gets fired too. And we learn that because Rina is pregnant, Tomoya had to marry her. His mom accepts the news and starts preparing Rina to be her son's wife. Meanwhile, Suzuki and Misa get even closer than before, to the point where they go out together on a very special outing. They revisit their old college hangout to relive memories and talk about how they used to always be around each other without Misa even noticing him. The two of them sit in front of a lake at the university, and Misa says she used to come there every day because there was a turtle she fed. Unfortunately, during the period when her dad died, the lake dried up, and when she went back, the turtle was gone. She thought it had died. But then one day, she found a note on a tree saying the turtle was okay and someone was taking care of it. Since that day, Misa called the person who did that her guardian angel, but she never knew who it was. Of course, it's not hard to guess that it was Suzuki. He's the one who took the turtle and cared for it, but he never told her. Now, Tomoya finds that he can't stand being married to Rina, and he's completely disgusted by her. So he goes to Misa and begs her to come back and marry him. Misa tells him she can't do that, especially since Rina is pregnant with his child. Misa tells him she's not obligated to help a cheater like him and that she's not his mother. She leaves. Later, it's Rina and Tomoya's wedding day, and Misa shows up alone so no one thinks she's heartbroken. But Suzuki doesn't let her walk in alone. He enters the hall with her as if they came together. While she's at the wedding, Misa remembers her days with Tomoya when she was in Rina's place. But to seem strong, she stands up and gives a speech to the bride, her friend, and the groom, her ex-fiancé. She says they're alike and that's why they got married, and that they truly suit each other. Then she asks Tomoya to take care of her friend and leaves the entire hall. Suzuki follows her. Since the wedding is on New Year's Eve, the weather is freezing. He invites her to his place to warm up and says she can leave later. But when she enters his home, she sees the turtle he's been keeping and realizes it's her turtle from college because of a distinct mark on its shell. She looks at Suzuki with teary eyes and says he's her guardian angel. Suzuki gives her a tissue and tells her he's willing to do anything just to see her happy and never sad again. He confesses his love for her, and Misa says she loves him too. Later, Rina is shocked to discover that Misa has blocked her everywhere. She can't reach her, not even by visiting her house. The apartment is empty, and she learns that Misa moved in with Suzuki. They're now officially in a relationship. Rina breaks down because Misa clearly made the better choice, and Rina feels like she lost everything. She wanders the streets, lost in memories. We learn that her mother had serious personal struggles and often neglected Rina emotionally. When Rina's father could no longer cope with the tension at home, he eventually fell in love with someone else and remarried. After that, her mother became more withdrawn and bitter. One day, in a moment of deep pain, she told Rina that she blamed her for how life had turned out and no longer saw her as a daughter. Not long after, she passed away under tragic circumstances. The trauma got worse when Rina's dad abandoned her too and disappeared with his new wife. She had to live with her maternal relatives, who also couldn't stand her. Now back to Suzuki, who gives Misa a gift, a full medical checkup. He tells her their health is the most important thing, and he wants to make sure she's okay. Misa does the checkup and starts to suspect that Suzuki knows she died before, especially because when he saved her from falling off the building, he told her he wouldn't let her die again. He's always there exactly when she needs him, as if he knows something's about to happen. And now he wants to make sure she's healthy, like he somehow knows she'll get cancer again. She doesn't know how to confront him or what to say. One day, Somo asks to speak with Misa and Miko. She tells them she wants to leave her daughter with them because she found out her husband is cheating. She wants to catch him red-handed because she learned his mistress will be in their house. Misa and Miko can't leave her alone, so they go with her. And sure enough, Somo's husband is cheating. But what breaks Misa is hearing the same lines from Somo's husband and his mistress that Tomoya and Rina used to gaslight her. It's like everything that happened to Misa is now happening to Somo. Somo leaves the house, wanting to call the police, but her husband tries to snatch her phone away, just like what happened with Misa before she died. Misa quickly intervenes to protect Somo, but Somo suddenly holds her stomach in pain and falls down the stairs. She's rushed to the hospital, and there, Misa learns that Somo has stomach cancer. Meanwhile, Tomoya returns home to find Rina preparing dinner. She says she wants to talk. She tells him a gang came to their house threatening her, claiming he owes them a huge debt. Tomoya says he was going to tell her and reveals the amount is 26 million yen. Rina calmly sets the food on the table, which is full of chili. Tomoya tells her the food is too spicy for their child, and she tells him not to worry, there is no child. She says she lied about being pregnant just to trick him into marrying her and steal him from Misa. But she was foolish because Misa let her steal a man drowning in debt. Then, suddenly, Tomoya notices his mom standing at the door. She heard everything and realizes Rina deceived her too. She collapses and is taken to the hospital. A few days later, Misa is on the phone with Suzuki as she's coming back home. Suddenly, she hears Tomoya's voice. We find out he's been waiting for her and his tone is creepy and threatening. He tells her his life was ruined because of her, and if she had just agreed to marry him, none of this would have happened. He reveals Rina was never pregnant and that the shock caused his mom to have a brain stroke, and he doesn't know if she'll recover. He then chases Misa and tries to strangle her. Thankfully, Suzuki shows up and pulls him away from her. Tomoya is forced to leave but warns Misa before he goes that he'll destroy her life the same way she ruined his. How original. Back at home, Suzuki assigns a personal security detail for Misa, telling her Tomoya has become a real danger. But then, out of nowhere, Misa tells Suzuki that she wants to confess something, that she died before and this is her second life. She suddenly found herself 10 years in the past. What she can't forgive herself for is that she had stomach cancer, and now Somo has it instead. If that's the price for getting a second chance at life, she doesn't want it. She can't bear to see her friend suffer because of her. Suzuki snaps and tells her she's completely lost it. He tells her he's breaking up with her and doesn't want to see her again. He leaves the house, and Misa is left confused, wondering why even he reacted this way. All the men in this drama are insane, even him. When Miko learns what happened from her brother, she goes to stay with Misa and promises not to leave her until she's sure Misa is safe from Rina and Tomoya. Then Misa gets a call from Somo, asking her and Miko to come to the hospital. They go, and Somo tells them Suzuki visited her and arranged for her to be transferred to a much better hospital with a specialized doctor to perform surgery and remove the tumor. Somo now has a much better chance than Misa did because she caught the cancer early, so she can have the surgery and fully recover. Misa starts crying, saying she's happy Somo is okay, though no one understands why she's crying like that. After they're done with Somo, Yuto calls and tells them they need to come quickly. When they arrive, he tells them that Suzuki came to him earlier, looking worried, and gave him an envelope. He asked him to keep an eye on Misa, and if anything happened to him, like if he died, he should give her the envelope. Misa asks what's in the envelope, and Yuto says he opened it. Inside were documents transferring ownership of the house and a bank account with 150 million yen, as if Suzuki was securing her future in case he died. They try to call him, but he doesn't answer. At the same time, Tomoya calls and tells him they need to meet to find a solution. Tomoya grabs a knife before heading out, and when Rina sees him, he tells her it's for self-defense. Meanwhile, Misa and Miko go to Suzuki's house and search his laptop for any clues to where he might be. They find out he traveled to the place where Misa grew up and rented a car to get there. As Misa goes through his laptop, she discovers he had planned everything that happened in her life. Her wedding, the dates she went on with Tomoya, her work problems, everything she tried to change. He already knew it all. He helps her too, but what terrifies Misa the most is that he had marked a specific date, that date being the day of his death. And it turns out that day is today, so Suzuki is actually on his way to die. We also find out that Suzuki knew that Tomoya and Rina were the ones who killed Misa, and he was the reason they got arrested in the first place. While Tomoya is on his way to Suzuki, his mother wakes up and finds Rina sitting next to her. But the moment Tomoya's mother sees Rina, she starts cursing her and wants to call the doctors to get her out, so Rina punches her in the nose and breaks it. Meanwhile, Suzuki travels to the town where Misa grew up to visit her father's grave and reassure him that he's going to take care of his daughter. When Tomoya finally arrives, Suzuki picks him up and they get in the car together. Suzuki tells him they're going somewhere and offers him a large sum of money to stay away from Misa. But in truth, Suzuki is overwhelmed with grief and rage, and he wants Tomoya to feel the weight of the pain he's caused in this life and the one before. As emotions spiral, Suzuki begins driving dangerously, speeding toward a bridge with no clear intention of stopping. Suddenly, Misa appears in front of them. Suzuki slams on the brakes just in time. Misa opens the door, pulls Tomoya out, takes his place, and firmly tells Suzuki to drive, leaving Tomoya behind on the road. Then the two of them go to talk, and Misa tells him that what he was planning to do was insane. She says she found out he had died before too, just like her. Suzuki is deeply moved, and we learn that he had loved her very much and had been watching her from afar. When he saw her again at the company, he couldn't believe he was getting a second chance to be close to her. But he didn't get the chance to act on it, because she married Tomoya immediately. When she died, he was in the exact same place she died in, and that shocked him even more. When he got revenge and had the people who killed her arrested, he felt like he had no more reason to live. He drove very fast and died on the same bridge he now tried to kill Tomoya on. He tells Misa that he thought if he killed Tomoya, she'd be free of danger and could finally live her second life in peace. Misa starts crying and tells him that she actually loves this life because she's living it with him and she wants to live the rest of it together. What he's doing is selfish. He's taking himself away from her. Suzuki tells her that when he died, he suddenly found himself in a taxi and the driver was her father. Her father was the one who brought him back to life. When he fell asleep and woke up again, he found himself in 2015. He had gone 10 years back. He immediately realized he had traveled through time and went to the company to attend the presentation. When he bumped into Misa in the elevator, it was the first time he saw her since her death. That's why he feels like he's done everything he needed to and can die in peace now. But the two of them agree to live the rest of their lives together and make the most of this second chance. At that moment, Miko calls Misa and tells her to open Instagram immediately. When Misa does, she sees that Rina posted a picture of herself with Misa's grandmother. Rina had kidnapped her from the nursing home and wants to leave her out in the snow to die just to hurt Misa. Misa and Suzuki rush to the nursing home and search everywhere for her grandmother. They have to split up. Misa eventually finds Rina and chases her. They start fighting. Meanwhile, Suzuki finds Misa's grandmother and hands her over to the nursing home staff. Then he rushes to catch up with Misa. When Rina realizes she can't finish Misa off, she runs away. Tomoya, on the other hand, walks to a supermarket and buys a charger. He finds out his mother woke up and is okay. He calls her, only to hear her crying. She tells him Rina hit her, broke her nose, and ran away. As he's processing this, he turns around and finds Rina standing right there in the supermarket. He pretends he was worried sick about her and says he knows she hit his mom, but he forgives her and will even help her make up with his mom. But in reality, he plans to kill her because her life insurance is worth 100 million yen, and he's the beneficiary since he's her husband. The next day, Rina calls him and tells him to come to the hospital immediately. His mother's condition has worsened. Tomoya jumps in his car and speeds toward the hospital. Suddenly, his phone rings, and it's Rina. He answers, and she starts laughing and tells him he's terrible at hiding his emotions. She says she knows he was planning to kill her for the insurance money, and because of that, the trap he was digging for her, he fell into it himself. She tells him she cut the car's brakes, so he's not going to make it to the hospital. He's going to crash and die. When Tomoya tries the brakes, he finds out they don't work. The speed he's going at guarantees he's dead. In his final moments, Tomoya calls Misa. He apologizes for everything he did to her and says he just couldn't handle losing her to another man. He thanks her for all the good things she did for him and expresses his regret. Suddenly, Misa hears a loud crash. Tomoya crashes into a wall and dies, thankfully. Rina then disappears. A few days later, she shows up to meet Suzuki and tells him to come with her immediately without turning her into the police if he truly wants Misa back alive. She had kidnapped her too. Rina had gone to the former department head, the one Suzuki demoted to the warehouse, and told him if he helped her get revenge on Suzuki, she would marry him. Since he was obsessed and a fool, he agreed. He bought a stun gun and helped her kidnap Misa. When Suzuki goes with Rina, he tries to choke her to get her to tell him where Misa is, but she has a knife and stabs him, telling him he missed his chance. She then leaves in a car with the department head to go deal with Misa. When Misa wakes up, she finds herself in an amusement park, strapped into a Ferris wheel ride. Rina is in the seat across from her, and her hand is covered in blood. Misa is terrified. Rina starts crying and tells Misa that they always did everything together and that she doesn't want to be alone. That's why she has to die, and Misa has to die with her. At that moment, Suzuki, bleeding heavily, forces himself to follow them to the amusement park. He knocks out the department head and tries to activate the ride to reach Misa, but Misa doesn't wait. She starts resisting Rina, who tries to stab her. Suddenly, the door of the Ferris wheel opens. Rina starts crying again and tells Misa that everything that happened was her fault, that she, Rina, was the villain, not the victim. Then she throws herself off from a great height and dies, the same way Misa died in her previous life. When Misa gets off the ride, she finds Suzuki waiting for her, his clothes covered in blood. As soon as he sees she's okay, he collapses unconscious. Misa calls for help, and he's taken to the hospital. His condition is extremely critical, and the doctor says he may not wake up. But it's not his time to die, and miraculously, he recovers. Years pass, and Suzuki and Misa stay together. This time, their life is much better than before. Misa quits the company and buys the restaurant she and her father used to love going to. It had shut down. She pours all her effort into running it. She also takes her grandmother out of the nursing home to live with her and help manage the restaurant. Then the day Misa originally died comes around, and she wants to celebrate it with Suzuki. As they're driving to the celebration spot, a taxi passes by them. Misa is shocked when she sees the passenger. It's her father. Suzuki sees him too. There are many things they still don't understand, but they continue on their way. They arrive at their destination, and Suzuki is about to propose with a ring he prepared. But Misa can't wait. She asks him to marry her instead. He's stunned by her boldness, but says yes and puts the ring on her finger. And that's it. The series ends. Let me know in the comment which one you liked more, the Korean, Chinese, or Japanese version. I haven't summarized the Chinese one yet, so if you want me to, just say in the comment.